Next thing I'm going to do is install the fresh air cover. It says to apply a 1/4 inch bead of silicone around the back side of the fresh air cap as shown in figure 4B below. That's here. And attach the fresh air cap to the firewall using a 1/4 20 by 1 inch bolt and washer. See figure 4 below. So there's that. I'm hoping that you can start that bolt into that that bracket and then slip the bracket behind, and wiggle it in, then tighten the bolt. We'll find out. So here's the fresh air cap. Here's the retainer, the bolt and washer they give you, which is a 1/4 inch bolt with probably a 7/16 head. And it just screws into the retainer. Now, once that's started like that, I think there'll be enough room to stick the retainer through the hole and bring it down far enough so that the top of it can slip up behind it. Then push this against the hole, or actually probably going to have to pull it out while you tighten it so that there's some pressure on this bracket, because without pressure on the bracket, as you turn the bolt, it's just going to spin. I notice this is a little bit tight once it goes in part way, so I'm going to actually run that in further a couple times and out so that I know that it tightens easily whenever I am actually doing the install. So I've actually been trying to fit this in the way they show it in the picture, or at least as it looks to me in the picture. And that is with this dented part going in. Except that doesn't fit in the hole that's there. It's actually a better fit if you flip it over like this. So I'm going to try it that way. Sure glad I didn't put the silicone on this right up front, because that sure looks like a better way to go. The one thing that I don't know about this is trying to hold this out while I tighten that. Might be a problem. Other than that, it would appear that everything's good. So I'm going to bring that instruction picture over again. This sure looks to me like they're telling you to put it in this way and put silicone here. Except, so that would go against the firewall. But it sure looks like it fits better if you put silicone on this outside part. And then Okay, I've got silicone on the edges of it. And ready to try and slide that in there without making too much of a mess. There, now if I can get it tightened. Can't really reach that from anywhere. Well, it's already tightening up. I was going to use the power wrench on it, but I don't know that I need to. You can't reach that from back there. Let's just use it manually and see how tight it is. That's not working very well. I'll just give it a light tap with the power. And now I can feel. Okay, with that silicone on there, that should be plenty good. Once the silicone dries, it's never coming off. Continuing on with the firewall modifications, it says, working in the engine compartment, place the supplied firewall cover against the opening in the firewall. Align the firewall cover's bolt holes with the two previously drilled bolt holes, lower holes, and one upper OEM hole in the firewall. So these are the two that we drilled from the inside, and that's the OEM hole from. Okay, so you're supposed to align them with that. I'm going to use some bolts to stick through there that are 3/8 because that's the size of the thing, the hole we drilled. And then it says using a paint pen or marker, and the firewall cover is a template, mark the firewall along the inside edge of the large hole in the firewall cover to indicate the portion of the firewall that will need to be removed to allow clearance for the AC and heater lines. So they're showing this as the part that needs to be removed. And here's the cover. That's what you're using to mark what needs to be removed. And then third step is when the firewall has been marked, remove the marked area from the firewall. And when you're done, it should look somewhat like that. So I'm going to locate some 3/8 inch bolts to put through those holes and hold this in place and figure out how I'm going to mark it. So I've stuck the cover up there temporarily with one bolt through the OEM hole, and it's just enough to hold it up. It's not a tight fit by any stretch of the imagination. And then we'll find it the two that we drilled in one of the previous steps. there we have the cover. And this is what we have to attempt to mark so we can cut it out to make room for the air conditioning lines and the lines that come to the heater core. So, best as I can, I'm going to try to mark that. And I know from when I tried to mark something else with this on this fiberglass, even though it's red, it really didn't show up very well, so I don't know how successful that's going to be. But at least our holes line up well enough that we can get bolts in. So the templates worked. Oh yeah, that's a good mark there. So I will put this down and probably go underneath to cut it. We'll see. Probably will use that multi-tool again that I used on the dash panel. So I'll have to set that up before I start to cut. Either I'm being very forgetful this morning or in turning on the camera, or the camera's going to standby on me and stopping recording. What I did was I took this multi-tool and I just cut around there. Now I'll take a knife and cut out the piece of fiberglass insulation to match that hole. That's easier said than done. Get my finger out of the way before I slice it. Okay, this is going to take a little bit of time, but you get the idea. Cut through the fiberglass, through the, I don't know what the backing is, it's kind of a rubberized, but it's not really rubber. Maybe I'll go on the inside and see if I can do it from there, but I'm not going to record that. So that lining in there with the fiberglass on it, even though I put a drill bit through it and the drill bit got all wrapped up with fiberglass, I was trying to test fit this a bolt through there to see how hard it was going to be to put a bolt through there into the new evaporator housing and heater core housing, and it's not going to be easy at all. So what I'm trying to do is figure out where I drilled through here before. There it is. And make that hole big enough so that I can get a bolt through there easily once it's time to bolt the evaporator and heater core housing up. So I'm trying to pull out all of this fiberglass that's in the way, and I think I'm going to use a pair of needle nose pliers. That might be a better option than that, to just clear enough of that away so that when I stick the bolt through there, it's going to go through and be able to bolt up the housing. I think it's going to save me quite a bit of time in the long run, because the drill didn't do well enough at making a hole in that stuff. I don't want to get to the point where I've got everything up and I can't get the bolt into the housing. So I'm going to work on that for a while. There's 2 holes I need to do that to. The one in the original hole, the OEM hole, was clear. So I need to make these clear so that I can bolt up to the housing. So I've got 3 bolts in there, and they're through that lining in fiberglass and that. There's one there, over there, and then the original OEM one. There's one other thing that they didn't tell me to do, but I'm going to do it because I think it's going to need to be removed later. There's a cutout in the cover, and in looking at pictures, it would appear that once you bolt that in from the inside, that this is supposed to go around a bolt without the bolt going through this. And this would be in the way. So I'm going to pry that out and set it aside in case it's the wrong move. But for now, I believe that we need that. I'm going to put a bolt through there to the housing, and then the cover is going to go around it. Now, while I've been out here working around this cover, a lot of the stuff that I'm putting in here, mainly the sniper and the transmission with the overdrive and such. And I need a place to put all those electronics. So if you recall, when I took out the old evaporator, that thing, it stuck way out here. It was big. And this sticks out maybe an inch. So I'm going to have a lot of room here. And I'm thinking about, this is a relay from the old air conditioning system, I'm thinking about seeing if I can make a shelf here that will hold the electronics for the sniper and the transmission, but I have to do some reading on that. The sniper I know can go under the hood, the transmission I'm not sure. But there are things that need to be in here for electronic controls, and I'm thinking maybe a little tray right here. I can screw it in here and have it stick out and hold my electronics. So there's also a coil that I need to install for the sniper, and there's a panel on the other side that has a shock sensor for an alarm system. Right over here. I'm thinking if I take that out, that might hold the coil. That's what I'm thinking about right now.